all get this dumb? Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about time.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef. Come on, man. Use your brain. The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now. Okay, got Lady D's arm there. All right, it's the Why I'm
my
Angry
arm.
podcast. I guess I didn't calibrate that scene, so we'll start out here. Obviously, Lady D's here, and
Hey, you listeners.
we're here live in the Freestyle Man Cave studio. We're live here on Twitch, Twitter, Rumble, Facebook. If you can't find us, we're not to be found for you, or you just may not be a listener for us. So, if you're listening to the podcast, we thank you very much. You made us a couple cents. Get on our website. Right now, we're doing a deal called Holiday Patriot 10 or Winter Patriot 10, I think it is, where you get 70% off, 75% off of all of our subscriptions, which gives you a lifetime $1.25 if you want ad-free podcasts. It gets you a couple other things for $2.50. You can also see all of the things that we are seeing and thinking about working on, some extra podcast stuff, some exclusive things, a blog that has all of the articles that we read throughout the podcast, all kinds of good stuff, and all that great stuff. So get on our website, whyimangry.com. Get on our merch. Get some new T-shirts. We've got some cool stuff. I think we've even got fanny packs. Lady D, I hear you got a Kanye update.
Yeah, I was just scrolling through Twitter, aka X, for the OGs, and Kanye told Kim to take his children out of Kim. He said, "Kim, take my kids out of Sierra Canyon now. It's a fake school for celebrities that are used by the system."
Well, what
Will
was
Kim?
the school again? Yeah, well, Kim, here's your
Sierra
notice.
Canyon.
Sierra Canyon.
And of course, people are going underneath the post. Did you spell it right? Sierra Canyon. Canyon.
So not CR Canyon, it's Sierra Canyon.
Yeah. People are going underneath the comments on him because, he's been in the media about his Donda Academy.
Right.
I think it was last year sometime people were criticizing him because the school lunch that he was selling, I want to say I remember something about sushi being sold or something like that, or not sold, being offered to kids or something like that.
Oh, at the school.
Yeah, at the school.
That sounds. I mean, yeah. I don't think in high school or anything that I probably would have partaken in the sushi. But I also didn't partake in school lunches very often during high school and middle school. So mainly because I wanted to play basketball and socialize with the other people. Mostly people of the other sex. So, gotta get your talk on. You gotta get your game out. So, Yelp reviews on Sierra Canyon School, 2.9 stars in 18 reviews.
Really?
Yeah. So people are not enjoying Sierra Canyon. Spoiler alert. Somebody, Caden V says, from San Francisco, California, save your money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we just lost me. save your
We did
money. The
lose you.
truth is, I do agree with other reviews when they say this school is just run by nepotism and favoritism. A good majority of the employees are relatives. They will band together and make sure
Oh
that
wow.
your child. What's that?
No, I was saying, oh wow.
Oh yeah, that your child gets the most of the opportunities available. So, review is solely for sports field, as my daughter does not attend this school. Oh, the sports field must be terrible. So, but yeah, so people are not excited about Sierra Canyon School.
When did it first open? Let me see. Founded in 1978. Let's just see here.
I mean, they like the some people like the preschool.
Honestly, the vibe from just looking at this kind of reminds me of like the private school from A Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Hey,
That's the
if you
vibe it's
can
given, just a little bit.
you can get it run it that way, then run it that way. Get your Fresh Prince of Bel Air going.
Hey, more power to him, to Kanye and Kim. Uh, Sadly, once again, he has to take to the internet to discuss something that could have been probably sent via a phone call or text message, but
Probably
we also
should have.
don't know what's been going on
That's true.
between them behind the scenes. So, oh, Kanye.
Yeah, yeah. Kanye and
But
his stuff.
speaking of Kanye, and segue into another celebrity, have you seen all the drama with Diddy?
I saw that he's got another lawsuit being filed against him
Yeah,
for sexual abuse with another male.
yeah. It's a $30
So
million
that
lawsuit.
doesn't sound like a good day for him.
Apparently, it's been some other well-known celebrities listed in the lawsuit as well.
Oh yeah.
I know one of them is that they're stating is Cuba Gooding Jr.
Okay.
was mentioned in the lawsuit. It's a mess.
It doesn't sound like a setup that you know he's going to come out on the right end of things in history here on that. Just from what I've seen of it, it doesn't sound like it's good for him.
No, and honestly, it's a little sad because this is now the second one within a matter, I think, like 90 days that it's came out, and it doesn't look like things are working for him in his favor. But once again, in our country, you are presumed innocent
Something.
until proven guilty in the court of law.
Some days.
So
Some days.
let's
Some days.
well,
So
let's
we
hope
yeah, I
let's
mean
hope for the best.
right. So yeah, no, it didn't look good for him, and he's been transferring power of
Mhm.
his companies to other family members and people in his
Mhm.
sphere. So I think he sees the writing on the wall, or he actually is guilty and is preparing for the worst. So I mean, that's kind of what you do when you know you're guilty and things are going to go down. Is
Yeah.
you prepare for the beating you're going to take. Unfortunately, but and that's a sad one too, because other than some of this, he's been a fairly decent role model over the 20 years. Like as I was growing up and things, um, he was kind of the guy that stayed out of mostly stayed out of the press for bad things, kept his head on
Mm-hmm.
himself, built a pretty legitimate empire, and just a lot of sweat, and hard work. And now we're seeing, it's tough when you see, your, I guess your heroes or your, the people that you looked up to over years and years that you know that they're not as wholesome or not what they actually said they were.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
So I was coming through headlines, and this was one I didn't even find. Normally, I find our headlines through some different emails I get with a bunch of the headlines of the day and stuff. Kind of helps me out, sort things out, as we're a small organization that doesn't have a lot of fact finders and things like that in it. And so I found this one. It just to kind of change gears altogether. Three Chinese nationals caught sneaking into Maine from Canada amid Asian organized crime epidemic. So just the headline there could have been on the odd news deal, but was not. And I didn't see it anywhere except for from the Maine Wire. But three Chinese nationals were caught sneaking into Maine on the 28th. They're unidentified at this point. But there's been, I guess, a major crime epidemic in Canada with Asian gangs. And basically, they're calling them Chinese nationals, Chinese illegals. So, like, they were trying to come across the border as immigrants and, you know, do that kind of thing. Where I think it's more of the fact that they're trying to come across the border as with some illegal intent involved, whether they're trying to trying to get away from somebody that was coming after them or whatever. But they're saying they were illegal aliens arrested at the border. Like, let's spin this to the easiest possible thing, instead of that they may have been coming across the border for nefarious reasons, very similar to the border in the South, which we already know cannot be contained, and unless you're Texas and you sue the government for $1.7 billion.
So they were coming from, where were they coming from?
They were coming from Canada in through Maine
But they were going, where did they get caught at?
at the Canadian U.S. border in Maine.
Interesting.
Yeah,
They
not
were
sure how. Like,
they were trying to get the
there are so
lobster. I don't know.
there are so many places in Maine where, like, you could pretty much hop, skip, and walk right through, or and not even know. Like when I was out on the road working the Maine area, we had a group of people that went up
Hmm.
to a northern spot in Maine. I don't remember whether they were eating or they wanted to see a tourist attraction or whatever, but they ended up, without knowing, driving into Canada, like, just barely, and it happened to
Hmm.
be where they were coming out of Canada. There was a checkpoint, and so they were, like, put on a list of people who accidentally drove into Maine or into Canada, and they were, if they ever got caught without their paperwork again, because they didn't have their passports. This was before you had to have passports. This was like as they were switching to it and stuff, and so
Yeah.
they didn't have their passports with them or anything. They weren't planning on going to Canada, and they had only been in Canada for like a mile, and yeah, but I guess the Canadian police or whatever, DHS, like we have, um, basically gave them a hard time. So, but these guys,
When is lobster and crab season in Maine? They heard
um,
probably heard so much about it.
yeah, I was gonna say it's coming up this in the spring here, spring and fall, is when
They
they,
was trying to just be early
when the
for
water
it.
gets cooler. When it's a little warmer, I guess it's not quite as good, but yeah, maybe they were there. I mean, They say that this group, these criminal organizations, operated by more than 270 illicit marijuana cultivation and drug trafficking sites
Mhm.
throughout Maine. So it seems like maybe they they were doing something illegal and they had been doing it and they just got into the wrong area and got caught. But they I guess they have been they've been known to do trafficking of illegal narcotics and human trafficking. Are and they are into financing illegal activities. So these guys were attempting to cross the illegally. Um, and they're and I guess it makes it a little spicier because they're Chinese nationals, so it's like,
Mhm.
but I mean they're Chinese nationals that are basically, they could be the Yakuza or the Triads if they were Japanese. They basically are a Chinese. Every country, every group has their mob or their gangs or whatever, and you know these guys were trying to get across. So luckily they got caught.
Kudos to the representatives there that were doing their job, being in the right place
I
at the right
guess, yeah.
time.
So Chinese spies. I mean, if we were, so think about this though. If we were like China, which they say, well, China will tell everybody all day long how bad our human rights are. If we were like China or like Russia, we would basically hold these guys until China or Russia, said, "Oh, yeah, we've got these guys to trade with you for, blah 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 blah." I mean, if we were a non-humanitarian country, we would basically just, we would trade them for whoever is sitting in Chinese or Russian prison, and that's what we would do. But obviously, we're nice, and we're not as crazy humanitarian as people say, and we're just going to let them go.
Mhm.
We're pretty much going to kick them back to Canada. So, or detain them until the Canadian Border Control or Customs or whatever, whoever is wanting them comes and gets them. But they're ours because they came into our country illegally. So we could hold them, we could detain them as much as we want. And if they're a Chinese mob that we considered a terrorist group, we could hold them without due process, as a terrorist organization. Thank you to the Freedom Act that President Bush signed. You know, so
So are they going to
but
release them, or are
yeah, I
they're going to
mean
send
it
them back to?
says they said there was a fourth Chinese national who was operating a vehicle. He was also arrested on suspicion of attempting to assist. After noticing, let's see. They're being held right now until they can go through the process of figuring out whether they're on, like whether they have warrants and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
they said other than that, other than not having their cards and stuff in order, that they would just be let back out in Canada. But this is not like the first time. There's kind of an epidemic of the Chinese coming across now.
This just
So
reminded me, for some reason, randomly, I thought about the guy who escaped from prison in
like what,
Pennsylvania.
like
Like,
Shawshank Redemption, or
um,
the guy that like for real
yeah,
life escaped in Philadelphia and was going to Canada
yeah,
because
he real,
he
yeah,
said
yeah, yeah,
his
yeah,
plan is to go to Canada, and we were like, I wonder what his plan was, because that could be a good plan. I mean, if you they were within like feet of me 3 or 4 times, they could have seen me if they wanted to. My plan, if they If I had been free for one more day, I would have gone to Canada. Yeah, it does kind of sound like that.
Yeah, I just looked him up to see if there was any update about him. I don't think he's went to court yet. Um, I don't think he's been formally charged yet,
Well, he's back in
or he hasn't
prison
received it. I should say his
because I
sentence.
think
Yeah, he's back in prison.
he already had a ton of years, I think. So they have time.
Yeah,
But
they
probably
gonna take their
because they
time with
have
him.
time, they're going to prosecute him fast and furious. I mean, it's going to be like a day or two, and they'll have him prosecuted.
Calva, how do you say his name? Calva Conte? Calva Conte. Danilo Cavalcante. For some reason, I don't know why I just thought about that. Like, I wonder how his life is going now.
Whatever happened to him? And
Yeah, whatever happened to him?
and how is he doing?
It
So
definitely was because he was like on a run for like a week, I think.
yeah,
Was it
I
a
think
week
it
or was
was
it
like
like 5 days?
6. It was like 6 days or something like that. It was almost a full week because
Yeah,
we had reported him. We had reported on it on the podcast, and then we reported the next one. I think we said he had gotten caught. So
crazy.
yeah. So Chinese nationals on the watch list now. I mean, coming across the border.
Weren't they the same people
Speaking,
with the balloon?
well, yeah, the Chinese national military, yeah, they sent a balloon across. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't sanctioned by anyone in the Chinese military. That it was just a one-off person that sent
A
that balloon.
random.
Obviously, it was a random. It wasn't. It wasn't
Mm,
seeing anything, checking anything out, or testing its boundaries in any way. Um, you know, it was definitely just a one-off deal. But you know, so
crazy.
yeah,
Something's up.
yeah.
Something's
Texas
up.
wildfires going on. So
What
Texas
part?
governor, other than fighting the fight at the border, is also issued a disaster declaration this week. That's Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, for 60 counties in Texas, has become the second largest in Texas history. Thousands of people were ordered to evacuate as the wildfires remain 3% contained. The other wildfires burned, leaving at least one person dead. The Smokehouse Creek fire broke out on Monday and is one of multiple wildfires burning across Texas into Oklahoma. Like, is this really like a big deal? Or is this? I mean, is this really? Is this more of like this is the 100-year burn? So they burns across the country, and then they grow back up, and in 20 years they're thriving and booming and green again. Is this like just nature doing its thing?
I always was concerned or curious about how does, and this may be a silly question, but how does a wildfire get started? Is it because of the reaction from the sun hitting the trees that makes it start, or somebody going into the forest and starting it?
Well, um, it just depends because they've even said in California that the one wildfire was started because the guy was messing with his car and his exhaust lit the fire. Because it was that dry. There was one. It was I can't remember. I don't think it was in Texas. I thought it was in Ohio. They started a forest fire with train tracks. And somehow
Mm-hmm.
there was a bump in the tracks and threw a spark into dry leaves. Because it was so dry in that area. And started a fire. Um, this one says temperatures, wind combined, dry dead grass is believed to have fueled the spread of the fire. I don't think they know exactly how it started yet. But yeah, I mean, it could be somebody left their campfire lit. It could be something as little as, they were smoking and through a match. It could be like you said, it got hot, the leaves started smoldering in the sun, and smoke makes fire. I mean, there is a thing called spontaneous combustion, and it's when the right conditions are there. You got dry leaves and dry, and you've got the heat beating down on it. Things catch on fire. I mean, it's the thing you have to worry about in farming communities with the hay lofts and that in your barn and stuff, that you don't let it get too far gone. So, but yeah, I mean, just about anything can start a fire when it's dry and everything. So
Yeah, I just
they
didn't know
said,
if somebody had like went out into the woods and was doing something and had no business doing, and then
I
boom,
think it's
we got a
still
fire.
too early to tell on this one. They're gonna do the full investigation, and then they'll let it out. They'll tell blame somebody. But I think for now they're just saying, with all of the way that the winter's been, it's been dry, and that there's enough dry leaves and stuff out there that it was easy to spread the fire. And but in nature, it needs to die, and then it comes back. And so there's always been forest fires, whether we created the forest fires or not. I mean, Smokey the Bear can only save so many forest fires. Otherwise, like you said, the sun with leaves and smoldering and stuff like that can start a fire. I mean,
hmm
so I mean, they may try to say that the hunter and with the gun started the fire in Bambi, but it was probably smoldering leaves
Bambi over there playing
or
with matches.
or a train or a thumper playing with matches. Um, so Mitch McConnell is stepping back.
As
He's
he
going.
should.
He
It's
announced
about
yet.
time.
It's about time. It is about time. Like, and and not that, I guess, not that I'm a Republican. I do vote Republican for the most part, I guess, because of lack of a better choice. But with that being said, he's been around so long. Like, he's in his late 80s.
hmm
It's he's been in office for million and a half years. He assumed the post of majority leader in the Senate, depending on when he was there, in 2006. So that's 18 years ago. Think about how much has changed, what's going on. I mean, Lady D was barely even
It's
out
just
of
time.
diapers at that point.
Hey, hey, hey. Go easy on me now.
But it it's just one of those deals where it's like, he is saying, and they are saying, that they've got a favorable electoral map. He should be replaced by a you know a Republican. Hopefully that Republican is more conservative than just Republican. But that
when did
should
he
that should
start
be.
his term?
He started his actual term. Let's look it up.
Oh, he just had a birthday too. Shout out to
Did
him.
he? All right.
You know, he was born in February. Yeah, he's born February 20th.
All right. Well,
He just turned 82.
82. I knew he was in his 80s. I didn't think it was 89 or that, but he looks like a turtle. I mean, really, like, if you look at
He's
him.
been
he could be the president of the
He's
total.
been in office for a long time.
Yeah, since what? He was a Jefferson County executive in 1978 to 1985. He started as the acting U.S. United States Assistant Attorney General in 75 to 75. So I mean, he's been in government since 1978. Well, and then 75 as an attorney. So
Yeah, it's time.
yeah, I just
It's past time.
I I'm one of
I
those
wonder why
people
he
that
stayed so long.
because he could, because nobody was holding his feet to the fire. Nobody said, "Oh, there should be term limits." I mean, obviously people have said it, but nobody has like really gotten into it and said, "Let's get these, let's get these pushed through."
I mean, so basically for the past 50, we'll just say for the past 50 years,
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
been
he's a
active.
lifelong public servant, and he's been in other services other than um Senate, but he's been a senator since 85. So, this is a good long time.
Yeah.
And
Not to
then
mention when you start having health problems, that definitely needs to be taken
well,
into
and that I
consideration. You
think
can't function.
that is why he's having it. He is having some health issues, and so I think that is why he is starting to step down. But
Yeah.
still, what is Kentucky going to do without him?
The same
What's
thing they've
what's
been doing without him for the last 17 years.
what's scary? What's crazy about it is Mitch McConnell probably has become one of the least conservative or one of the lesser conservative leaders in Senate. And then from the same state, you have Rand Paul, who is a uber conservative to the point of, libertarian style, where he's like, let's get rid of anything that we don't need in the government that doesn't keep us safe or isn't called for by the Constitution. And you got both of those guys being elected from the same state. So,
So with
but
him moving, how does that change the dynamic of
so he's going to step
like
down
who's his
from
replacement going to be?
yeah. So right now he's the minority speaker or minority leader of the Senate. So he'll step down. He's going to step down from that here. I guess following the 24 election. So once he steps down, he's no longer in office. They'll elect somebody else. Basically, they'll find somebody else. They said already, Majority Whip, John Cornyn, looks like he might step up. The John Thune, the caucus chair, and the caucus chair John Barrasso, all Johns for some reason. Only Johns apply. Do not come to the Senate Majority Leader election unless your name is John. Don't do it.
Can my name be John
Those
Hancock? Can I get in?
John Hancock, right? Um. So, yep, we're gonna go from Mitch to John, I guess. Those are the three that they say is the top. Thune, Barrasso, and Cornyn are probably the three top. But by that time, I mean, there's 6 months of time till November. So, you never know. It could be Matt Gaetz by then. Speaking
Anything
of
is
which,
possible.
he made a speech in CPAC this week that just about burnt everybody. He decided he didn't care about anybody, and just decided to light a fire under everyone. It's pretty interesting to me. But he mentioned how anybody who held political office shouldn't be making millions and millions of dollars by trading stocks. He is under investigation for ethics. But part of that investigation also, he says, stems from his ability to get out of office people who are not for this country. So, like Kevin McCarthy, um,
Hmm.
people like Mitch McConnell that have been here too long, have drank the Kool-Aid, and have made millions and millions of dollars off of it. So he mentioned in his speech that there is a website called Quiver Quantitative that you can follow the trading practices of your senators, and some of these guys are making 40 to 70% on trades, which even your best Wall Street traders are not making that good. I mean, they're not winning 70% of the time. If you can build your portfolio 20% a year, you're one of the best traders on the floor. I mean, they're accepting in your like 401k. At best days you're going to get 14%, worst days you're going to get like 5. You may lose money, especially in Bidenomics, but yeah, these guys they're actually watching the trades of each of the senators. And yeah, some of these people are. I mean, Nancy Pelosi's never really had a job, and she's worth millions and millions of dollars. She doesn't make that much in Congress. Your Congress salary is, I think, right around $100,000 a year.
I thought they made more
That
money than that. Well,
I mean, Pelosi has access to private jets. What. I mean, I've made $100,000 a year a couple times, and I was never, in the realm of getting a private jet. Now, I did
that's
take
right.
I did take
You was in the
an
wrong
airplane.
business.
I did charter an airplane into the Grand Canyon, and then chartered a helicopter ride like down into the Grand Canyon and things like that while I was making good money like that. But at the same point, I never, I never was in the realm of buying my own jet.
You can't buy a jet for 100K, so somebody lying
No,
somewhere
that's
about what they
that's what I'm
making.
saying. That's what I'm saying. These guys are worth
I
millions
don't
and
even think
millions
that's
of
enough to
dollars
cover the
now.
fuel.
As a senator making 150,000 or 100,000 a year, you know what you're doing. You're doing something above and beyond if you're making millions of dollars. I mean, they don't pay you that much to go out on speaking engagements unless you're Hillary Clinton.
Well, you got to come up with ways.
And you have
If they got side hustles.
so in 2021, Senate's per annual salary was 174,000. So I mean that is a tad more than I may have made, in my best sales year. But I still like I would have probably had to make like 10 times that to be thinking about, jets and, and things like that. I don't think I'd ever have talked about like a $10,000 haircut.
If I'm paying somebody $10,000 to cut hair off of my scalp, I something is wrong with me. Something's
Yeah,
wrong
but
with me.
with you, you could be paying like a designer to do like to braid and do all your hair and stuff like that, and that might be worth it because I you probably have a long term hair regimen. Like it takes so many hours to braid your hair, and so um, because not that I have any knowledge of firsthand, but I do like I have worked with black women who have taken hours and hours to get to get their hair done. And we had a banquet chef at the Marriott that she took a day off every month or 2 months to get her hair done because it took so many hours to straighten it, add the extra hair to it, do all the braiding and all of that stuff that it took. I personally don't have that issue being being one of the
I'm just
balls.
saying,
Now, I used
10,000
to.
to cut hair.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because when you think about it, Bill Clinton's old haircuts were $10,000 haircuts. I mean, that's
You telling me that taxpayers
yep,
was paying for him to get a $10,000 haircut?
yeah.
Who was cutting his hair? Is the person still living today? I need to know.
Well, I don't know. They may have known too much, and they may have been on the list. So I don't know on that one. Um, but yeah, no, I do know that came, when I was in high school or maybe beyond high school, that came out as that, you know, he was getting haircuts for. And here's the deal: I don't care how much you pay, and I don't care if the guy, if he has the skill to do a $10,000 haircut, no big deal. And maybe it's because he had to go through all the security, he had to have, whatever. Not my thing. But if you're making 174,000 a year, unless you're, the greatest investor, which some of these people are making 20 to 40% off of their investments. So maybe they are the
Hmm.
greatest investor. But you got to think, if you're in Congress, are you not seeing like how many people, and just even with like the JetBlue and Spirit thing. We talked about how JetBlue and Spirit, came up on a monopoly. Well, here's the deal.
Hmm.
If you were inside and you knew that Spirit had like a super inflated tax or a super inflated stock value because everybody thought that they were going to be able to merge and that they were going to merge into a Spirit brand, and somehow that stock would either equate into Spirit stock or into an inflated value of the companies. But if you knew that they weren't and you sold all your stock at the top, or you sold 20,000 shares of stock that you didn't own for a week and it dropped and you just bought them back and replaced them, which is called a short sale, well, then that would be pretty good information, wouldn't it? Because I didn't know
Yeah, it
even
could
what
be.
I didn't even know the full information. Like I got in like right after, and I saw the market just drop, the bottom drop completely out of the market. And so I bought some options on it and then allowed it to go to rebound to where it was going to kind of sit until the information, the news and everything came through. And so I bought at the very bottom of the mountain and sold actually at the very top, which almost never happens. Tripled my money and did really great. But I didn't have any insider information. Like I'm like, what do we got? What do we know? trying to hit up everybody in the aviation. Like, anybody know anything? Is there any? I didn't have any information on the inside, but if I had information on the inside that the courts were going to say no, I'd have sold 40 million shares of those stocks, so that when it dropped out, I short sold it. I had all that millions of dollars in the bank and bought out the little bit that I had sold out. There we go.
But I don't even know why JetBlue would even try to go and merge with Spirit of all the airlines that you could try to merge with. Like,
Well, I think it's more Spirit is trying to
oh,
is trying to get it's at a point where it either needs to collapse in and consolidate its position, or it needs to expand out rapidly, like kind of like like you saw with Starbucks or something like that, where you either need to spend a ton of money or you need to save all your money and become very liquid. Because the market may or may not be ready, may not be set up for it. Well, JetBlue is another smaller, kind of regional budget, company, and so if they came together and formed a good size, but the problem is they run in the same region. They're mostly East Coast bound. Yes, there is some West Coast, but they're not very saturated. Like if they had tried to merge with like a Frontier or something that was more West Coast oriented, then it made more sense. But because they would form the only, East Coast budget friendly company, they said it was it was going to be too much of a monopoly. So that was with what happened there, which is stupid. I mean, the monopoly is minute to yes, it's going to affect the outlook over the country of discount tickets, because then they could control how low the discount ticket, like it could be, then they could be $10 underneath. But at the same time, right now, they could be $10 under, American or Delta or, Southwest or whatever. And still, I mean, they're not even fourth or fifth in the US as opposed, airline industry standard wise. I mean, you got like Delta, American, Southwest, and then you've got Continental, or not Continental. What's the other one? Is it United? You've got United out there as at least right now the top 4 probably. And then, you can fight it out from there. Who's underneath? It's a lot of mid-level regionals and your discount providers basically.
yeah.
But, so, like I said, they're probably not in the top 4 or 5. They're not your big guys that travel all over the internet, internationally and all over the world and stuff like that. But that's an argument for another day on the whole. Let's argue about whether the laws for monopoly are really there to protect us anymore, or just to break up everybody that is pushing for certain rights. So
I wonder if McDonald's and In-N-Out could merge.
yeah, they would let them
Then we
merge
would have more
anytime, because
locations.
the problem with that is they wouldn't add literally any more locations really. In-N-Out and McDonald's would be they are in the same location. Like, to merge with McDonald's and add locations, it would only help like In-N-Out maybe. In-N-Out maybe add some locations.
Yeah, no, I'm saying In-N-Out have more
Yeah.
locations. Yeah, come to the East Coast.
The problem is McDonald's is such a big, well-known, well-seen company that it only makes more sense to add In-N-Out burgers to McDonald's menu. Because
True.
why spend the money to build the infrastructure for In-N-Out when you already have the largest restaurant infrastructure ever built in McDonald's?
Or we could do Chick-fil-A in and out, because in all actuality, they are both Christian-based companies.
Right. And they both have good
See, I need to get in
followings.
some of these meetings with the
They
CEO.
both have
Yeah.
a fairly level like following. Chick-fil-A is probably a little higher because there's more Chick-fil-A's throughout the country.
Mm-hmm.
But and they're expanding anywhere from 10 to 15% every year. So in that growth model, you would have In-N-Outs starting to pop up like everywhere. You know. But at that same point, if an In-N-Out, and this is the argument I make about gas stations that come to my area from areas that I have loved them in. And being a traveler, I appreciate a great gas station.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not the same. Would it even be the same? Like In-N-Out in Ohio isn't going to be as it's just not going to be the same as jumping out of LAX, running to the In-N-Out like 4 blocks away, getting in and out, and getting back into LAX before your plane takes off. It's just not going to be the same. Like they don't have the same Jose on the grill, flipping burgers. I know that's a terrible stereotype, but you know what I'm saying. It's the same thing with
Yeah.
like Wawa. Wawa in the middle in the east, not the Middle East, but in the East Coast, you know, Pennsylvania, you know, that New York area. It's great. Like anytime, like I'll drive into a Wawa in the northeast, Middle East area, and I will get a chicken salad with a pickle, some bacon, some extra mayo. Bam, that's my lunch. Wawa. I grab myself an energy drink, and I am good to travel for another 200 to 400 miles. But in Ohio, they're bringing Wawa here. I'm not going to try that chicken salad. I know the people that live here. I don't trust the people who live here to make me a
You
great
don't think
chicken
they'll ship
salad.
it in?
No,
You don't think so?
they might, but I don't trust them to handle it even.
You know, that's what they do with
Is
some
that
of
bad?
the pastries you can get at Whole Foods.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never been to Wawa, so I would be interested in
It
trying
has
it. But my
been
favorite is Buc-ee's.
years since I have even eaten a Krispy Kreme. Since they went away from stores
Ugh.
and they went to like in a box, they put it in your grocery store somewhere and whatever. Real donuts only last a day. If you're
It's
eating
true.
them on day 2, it's because you're either hungover and too drunk still to realize that it's not good anymore, or you just are still trying to savor that last bit of donut glory. But it's not as good. It's not as good a glory. And if you try to eat it on day 3, you need Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like manna from heaven.
Now I want a donut.
It's like manna from heaven. You only get to eat it that one day. You can't pack it in your things. You it'll get bad. So, but yeah, Wawa, Sheets is one in the farther up northeast that you know, New York, Massachusetts, Maine area that I've gone to at late nights for a good chicken wrap and some fries, and you know, many a night that I needed to get something better to eat than the hotel vending machine, and it's saved me all the time. But in Ohio, no, thank you. I'm good. I've seen what they did at Speedway. I've
Well, I
I've
thought they were supposed to
seen.
be changing all the speedways to 7-Elevens.
Well, Speedway did buy out 7-Eleven. But I think in Ohio, Speedway is known more than 7-Eleven, and so you'll see 7-Eleven
Mm.
products in Speedway. So like there's a Slurpee hat in Speedway that I want to buy. But I'm still a little leery because I know of one individual that has one of those hats, and I'm kind of like, but it's all right. I probably won't see that person for a while again. So, but anyhow, but yeah, so I think that's what they're doing is they're kind of slow playing it. Where 7-Eleven is bigger, they keep the 7-Eleven. Where Speedway is bigger, they've kept the Speedway. But they did at one point, I think right around COVID time, they did say that they were going to turn all of the speedways into super speedways with the ordering function and stuff like that, burritos and stuff of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how good that's gone. I have tried some of their food. It's been okay. But you know. So I have yet to get into a Buc-ee's. But I don't think Buc-ee's is built on having great fast food or great food in the like coming out of the. It's more of like it's a giant grocery store. Buy a shirt, buy some jerky, type thing. Maybe get some propane, and a nice piece of jewelry. Is kind of what I've heard from them.
Buc-ee's is by far Buc-ee's. If you listen to this, sponsor us. By far the
In a
best
second.
of them all.
So
top tier.
Okay. Well, as soon as I get a chance to get over there, I mean, it's a little bit of a drive right now in the Dayton area to get to the Buc-ee's from North Dayton area, but I'll get over there. I'll check it out one of these Saturdays.
They have the best brisket sandwich I've ever had.
So again, like, is that brisket going to be the same in Dayton? Did you try it in Dayton yet?
I know. I've only tried it. I tried it in the South.
That's what I'm saying. So like in Dayton, like they have a giant Buc-ee's. It's supposed to be one of the biggest in the U.S. in Dayton. Will you try the brisket sandwich here?
Yes, I will. In fact, I will make sure that I am off of work that day so I can stand in line and be one of those people there for the grand opening.
They've already opened.
No, they haven't even built it yet.
I'm pretty sure they opened
still
it
being
already.
They've opened the Sheetz.
No, they've opened the Buc-ee's. I'm pretty sure they have.
I don't believe
but maybe
you,
not.
because I wouldn't have missed
Maybe
that.
they've got us. Maybe they got the small ones that have been opened, like the little.
They have one. They do have one in Kentucky. In Kentucky. And gas is cheap there right now. I'm about to have to make a trip.
Yeah, the Sheetz in. Were you saying the Sheetz or the Buc-ee's?
The Sheetz is open.
Yeah. Maybe they're not open yet. I thought they were open already.
No, not yet.
I thought they had one open, like in Springfield or something.
So there is a Buc-ee's in Richmond, Kentucky.
Yeah, no, I thought it was.
Which is
I
like
thought there was
about an hour and a half
in Ohio.
They are building one here, but not
here in Huber, real close to us. Will be the largest Buc-ee's in the nation. One of the largest. But it's the same thing with like Casey's. Casey's is one of those, like they're big in Kentucky. on the west side of Kentucky where my parents live now. And we ate there at we ordered pizza like it was like a pizza place. Couple large pizzas, pepperoni. It was great. They had decent pizza. Not like, it's not like a Pies and Pints pizza place, but it was a great pizza place, and or decent enough pizza place. And here in Ohio, like you can't barely even get a pizza, and like it's pretty much like getting a pizza at your local gas station. That's what it is basically you get a piece or whatever, and it's no better than any place else. So like coming from that where they were great pizza to coming to this where it's like barely gas station pizza, you're like, I could get just as good of pizza at the Flying J, at the truck stop gas station than this.
Not the Flying
So
J.
at the Flying
Although, don't
J,
sleep on Pilot. They got some good pizza.
I've been to some truck stops that they don't work, they're not too shabby. But normally that's not because the company's amazing. That's because there's some lady named Rita that just really loves people and puts a little extra love into everything that she does for those people. So, well, that got off track. But yeah. So, in other news, how are you celebrating your leap day today? As we're doing this recording here, it's leap day. So, how are you celebrating? Anybody out there, shoot me a message how you're celebrating. Get that out here. Obviously we're celebrating by being here.
That part. I celebrated my last day of Black History Month. Doing
Yeah.
absolutely nothing. As you know, I'm fresh off the boat. So let me not say boat because that definitely sounds like slavery
Is
times. Forgive me.
she is
I'm fresh off.
FOB. FOB.
I'm fresh off. I'm fresh off the beach in the sand, coming from the island. Um, so I've been relaxing. Haven't been doing anything. However, I did see that there were a lot of different places that were offering deals today for it being Leap Day. And I did watch the news earlier, and they were breaking down the mathematic equation about how this day is equated to being the extra day every 4 years. They broke down the time of how it's equated. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not that good at math, so I'm not even gonna go that far into it, but I thought it was quite interesting.
I saw a TikTok the other day that said that from the 75 Bible said that we were supposed to have 13 months and that we should have, that Sunday was the first day of the week, which if you look at the calendar, Sunday is the first day of the week. So that one,
Mhm.
obviously was not surprising.
Unless you're
But
European.
well,
Europeans believe that Monday is the first day of the week.
that's because they've changed it over the years. But even back in the day, that the calendar said. But anyhow, so I don't know. It looks like Krispy Kreme, Chipotle has leap day deals. Burger King has a free Whopper or Impossible Whopper. Yep, you need to make a purchase of $3 or more in the BK app. Wendy's announced the dynamic pricing. Falls on the right day. So Chipotle, you get guac, doesn't cost extra today.
Mm-hmm.
Dunkin',
I saw that one.
if you run on Dunkin', then you're able to get a $2 medium cinnamon vanilla coffee. Still upset that they don't have the Dunkachino. which I used to run on, but no longer do because they don't carry it. Angry.
What is a Dunkin' Chino?
It was a it was basically a chocolatey, caramely Dunkin' cappuccino type thing. But
Oh,
because it was a Dunkaccino, it was super sweet. It didn't taste like coffee at all, and you just like sucked it down and got a sugar buzz. So
it sounds like what you
and
were saying, caramel chocolate.
yeah, it's literally not like it's not for the coffee connoisseur in your life. It's more for the person who just runs intravenously on sugar, which I would be one of
Yeah.
those people. So today, Krispy Kreme is selling a dozen glazed donuts for $2.29.
I do not like Krispy Kreme, so ooh, too sweet.
Um, well, then you wouldn't have liked the Dunkaccino. So,
Yeah, Krispy Kreme
Marco's
donuts would
Pizza
be so good if
was.
they could just find a way to redo the glaze.
Oh, I liked the Krispy Kremes the way they were. We're doing 29% off of all their pizzas from Marco's Pizza. Smoothie
Who was?
King, Marco's Pizza. I like a good,
No.
good greasy Marco's Pizza. So, Smoothie King did 29% off if you spend at least $15. Taco Bell did $2.29 crunch wraps. Wings and Rings,
Yeah, it was a good marketing deal.
yeah, I guess. Wings and Rings customers who buy 10 wings get 5 bonus wings for free. It's a free day, you get free wings. Please buy the other 10 wings though. So, yeah, lots to be excited about on Leap Day. Hopefully, you got out before now and got to do some celebration of it. Even here in Ohio, it was at least 45, so sultry winter day here. You know, definitely shorts and t-shirt day for me.
That's an everyday for you. What are you talking about? You could wear
Yeah.
that 365.
So it was like 30 degrees, 28 degrees yesterday. I was out there running around with a sweatshirt on. So,
In shorts.
I did. Yeah, well, yeah, obviously I don't wear pants very often. I mean, you know, God gets my best, so he gets some pants, but that's about it. Other than that, date nights and that's church. Other than that, I run around in shorts. When you have bacon grease as part of your blood, you just you don't need it.
That shocks me, being the fact that you were in the kitchen, and in the kitchen, I know you're not allowed to wear shorts.
When you own the kitchen, you wear shorts.
Mm, good
Yeah.
comeback.
For the last 6 years when I was running the food truck, pretty much wore shorts every day in the kitchen. It was pretty great. But yeah, you're right. Until then, when I was the executive chef, I could wear shorts when it was like during the summer. It was acceptable, and then when it was the winter and stuff, I had to, at least wear some chef pants or something. Look presentable. But I mean, there was one job I had; they never even gave me chef's jackets. I wore white white undershirts half the time and looked like a slob most of it. That was 6 months that
Hmm.
I'll never get back. But yeah. So a judge ruled that former President Trump must post the full $459 million bond while appealing his judgment in New York business fraud case.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
that would mean he either goes to jail or pays
what did
$454 million.
Who did I see? Was it him that I saw somebody was ordered to pay some money in a lawsuit and it was like over $1 million? I think it probably was him.
I would say Rudy Giuliani was just sued for defamation for $180 million. He's worth like a million and a half, maybe. So
Mm.
yeah, he basically applied for bankruptcy like 2 days later.
Surely he doesn't have that money.
He probably doesn't have it liquid. I mean, they say he's, they're trying to say he's worth a ton of money, and that he defrauded them by saying he wasn't worth as much. Or actually, they're trying to say that his property in New York was not worth, or his property in Mar-a-Lago, Florida, was not worth $200 million. It's only worth like, or not worth $20 million. It's only worth like $5 or $6 million, when all of the other properties around that area are worth $200 million. So I'm not sure,
That's why they say never
Yep,
trust a
that's
politician.
right. Well, when your judges are now politicians, it's hard to trust anybody, I guess. Gaza's last functioning hospital shut down due to fuel shortage and lack of medical supplies, according to the hospital officials. I mean, in this, that's all the Hezbollah. That's all Hezbollah. I mean, that's if they didn't, if they gave any of the aid that we give them and stuff to the hospital, then the hospital would have. But they don't care. They ran their headquarters out of a hospital so that we didn't bomb them for years. So, Lady D, do you believe that we went to the moon?
I guess. Sure.
So the Odysseus
I don't have
lander,
no factual evidence that says we didn't, or do we?
the Odysseus lander, the first ever commercial spacecraft, landed on the moon yesterday, several days earlier than it was intended to. But it stopped it landed on the moon and stopped transmitting yesterday. Several days earlier than it was intended to. The historic mission returned the U.S. spacecraft to the moon after a 50-year hiatus, but likely did not meet some goals after it tipped over on landing, and bent a bunch of the gear on the side. 14-foot tall lander, surfaced approaching diagonally, tilted its antennas, solar rays, in the wrong direction, and then the craft stopped reporting. So maybe if the craft just, circles around one more time, it'll start reporting again.
So are you saying we didn't go to the moon?
I was just asking you what you felt about going to, whether you thought we went to the moon 50 years ago or not. Plus,
I mean, didn't they make a whole movie on it?
They've made a
I
whole
was
movie
just
on
watching it,
Batman
Hidden Figures.
and all kinds of things. We didn't really have Batman.
Batman is real.
There's never been a Death Star. I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff you see about the moon landing and stuff, it makes a lot of sense that it was done in a studio as opposed to like actually on the moon. Like, who took the pictures? Like, where were the pictures taken? Like, how did they get those pictures from away? When the other guys hadn't gotten out of the spaceship yet. How do we see Neil Armstrong walking off? Things like that. But I'm open to all options. Whether we did, we didn't, I don't know. I'm kind of like those, pansexual people who like everybody. I'm just open to the truth. Like someday, maybe I'll get the truth, and then I'll be like, all right, that's the truth. But until then, I'll explore all of the options of truth in this arena, and we'll figure out what actually happened. But on this mission, they made it. They say they made it to the moon, and they broke a bunch of stuff. And yeah, this probably doesn't help them um, with their preparations for returning a person to the moon. But they did make it.
Do we have to say allegedly?
I mean, I don't disbelieve them, but it did crash and burn before they were able to deploy the camera that was supposed to take a bunch of pictures.
Interesting.
Yeah. So did you see that? Just to keep on trucking here, Jam Master Jay's
Hmm.
verdict came out.
I did. I caught that wind of that late last night because I said I've been out of touch with the world for last week. But I did see. Though you want to know something crazy? Last month I went to LA and I had asked somebody because we were talking about the group Run DMC. Some reason we were talking about them anyway,
Yeah.
and I had asked. I said, "Did they ever catch the man that was responsible for killing him?" And my dad was like, "No, I don't think so." And then literally a month later, they convict two men. And the sad part
Right.
was, I think they said it was his godson and his childhood best friend.
Yeah. It was is people close to him. It doesn't.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Carl Jordan, 40, and Ronald Washington. Um, they were engaged in a narcotics trafficking conspiracy and firearms related murder. So Jordan, his godson, and Washington, childhood friend. Yep. Targeted Mizell after
Yeah.
being cut out of a drug deal reportedly worth 200,000. The two men each face a maximum sentence of life in prison. Third man, Jay Bryant, whose DNA was found on the scene, um, is in a separate trial that won't be adjudicated until 2026. So,
It is very sad that it took 20 years for them to find who killed him.
right. It's
Because I remember
crazy
when it
that,
first happened, it was like they had no info.
right, there was nothing. It was like dead ends
It was
right
they was
off the
like trying to make
bat.
it seem like it was so random. It was no security camera. Like it was that
Well,
situation was very, very crazy.
I mean, it was 2006, so there wasn't quite as much, security out. Like, there wasn't, smartphones were just coming out at that point and stuff like that, but still, yeah.
Well, may his family
What
has
could have
some sort
been,
of peace. Is
what could have been. Um, because I mean, what now Rev Run is got his own TV show on the Food Network, and TLC and all of that, and
mm-hmm.
DMC is actually has a comic book with Marvel now.
And I know
So
Rev Ryan. He DJs. He still. I can't even
yeah, I
speak
think
tonight. He
I
still
think he's still.
DJs.
I don't think that DMC does a ton of music anymore though, because like just and
No.
not like to be like, oh, I've talked to him, I'm his best friend or anything, but when we talked to him when we were at the Comic Cons and stuff for the comic book stuff, he would talk to you generally about the music, but he would lead it back into the comic book stuff. Like, even when he was writing his music, he was writing a story, and now he gets to write a story for his job type thing. Now it's just more involved stories. So, but yep.
Yeah, it's very sad, but hey, hopefully his family has some closure
Right.
after all
Yeah,
this
definitely.
time.
Definitely. That's a big thing.
And to think though, like what I think about too. Like I'm not sure how close like their families like are, or once this happened. But like to think like you even attended this man's funeral. I'm assuming here you probably attended this man's funeral knowing that you killed them or had something to do with it. You've been around his family, like acting as
Right.
everything is normal, and for all this time, like you never turned yourself in like that. Whew, that just takes a special type of person to do something
Oh,
like that.
right. Right. Yeah, that's definitely not a normal, but
Yeah, cold hearted, man.
that just lets you know like what kind of person is part of these drug cartels and stuff that are, get when you get wrapped up in it, you become a different person. And so
Yeah.
and it's like we've even talked about it a little bit, but it's like when you get wrapped up in that, you're not you anymore. You're and even when you come back from rehab, you've done things, and so you either have to figure out, how you're going to recover from that, and that's why they have that. The 12-step program seems to work at least to a point of at least getting you some resolution to having that issue, that addiction, or at least to the
Hmm.
to the things you've done while being on that addiction. So, uh,
The things people do for money, for the love
that's
of
right.
money.
For the
OJ
love.
said it best.
That dude has done too many things for the love of money. Ended up in jail for the
For
rest
the
of his
love of
life because
money.
he assaulted a guy over his old his old memorabilia. Just leave it alone, man. You beat a murder rap, you know. Let it go. But so researchers found that striped marlin communicate with each other by changing the shades of their stripes during high-speed hunting. Discovery sheds light on the evolution of predatory group behaviors in fish.
Hmm.
Yeah. I wish there was a sign, like I could have like a sign on my forehead or something. It was like not like predatory hunting, or like not in a great mood today, or so, something like that, that it just like alerts people that like don't talk to.
Leave me alone.
Yeah,
They
leave me
do.
alone.
They have those. I don't know the name of them, but I've seen them before in the store where you flip them upside down or turn them inside out, and they're different colors on either side. Oh, I don't know the name of them.
Just leave me alone.
Just leave me
Uh
alone.
Apple is canceling their decade-long project to develop autonomous electric vehicles.
I saw that. Yeah, because
They're
who's about to buy an
pivoting.
Apple car?
Yeah, they're pivoting to artificial intelligence. But you think about it, though, it would have made sense for you to put for them to make it universal, and you to put an Apple head unit into your car, like a radio, and then that Apple head unit hooks into your computer system and then can run your car for you. And so any autonomous car could turn into an Apple car. Instead of them having to make their own car, why not make the computer system that ran the car?
You keep listening. I mean, you keep talking. Tim Cook gonna steal your idea if he ain't already got one of his developers on it.
Right? But
I mean, I was thinking too, like how much would you charge? Would this car be more than a Tesla?
well, I mean some of the high end Teslas have autonomous capabilities. Like right now in San Francisco, and in on some of the stretches of LA, they have the setup so that your car can drive without, like it can read the lines and stuff. I mean, they're testing in Montana all the time. Cars reading the lines without it having to have some kind of special magnetic system.
Would you ever get in a vehicle that is not operated by a person but by a system, like a Uber? Because you know they have those now too.
Yeah, well, we talked about them in San Francisco. Them having to shut down some of them because they ran over people or hit an ambulance. Um, yeah.
But would you ever personally get in one?
Um, I can't say never because it doesn't go against my religion in any way or my personal thoughts on things. So I might, for you do try everything once, right? And live to tell the tale or don't, I guess. Live to tell the tale or someone else tells
Oh
it for you.
wow! Listen, I don't trust technology that much. So
I
if
mean,
that
I
one
can't
pulled up
say
to
that
pick me up,
like if it were it like yeah, I mean, I can't say I wouldn't. I would try it out and see what happened. I'd roll the dice. I'm not too I'm not too good for that.
listen,
I mean, there's
listen.
been plenty of times I've been
Uh,
in a situation where I'm like, yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go for it.
yeah. If a Uber pulled up and there was not a human
Pop the door open and
operating
there's
it,
no human in there.
I'm like, you know what? It's a wrap. This ain't for me. I'm sorry.
So if there wasn't if it is it just that there's nobody in there? Like could it be a cyborg? Could it be like an alien like a robot or something like that pulls up kind of like Star Wars or
They could
something
even put like
where an android
it
pulls
has to
up and
be
is
a human
like,
being.
"Hi. How are you today? We have your
Yeah, that
coordinates
would
right
creep me out.
here and we'll be going into warp speed in just a minute."
You know.
No.
I will say though, one of the things I thought about because I Ubered a lot this past week.
Yeah.
One of the things I did think about every time I got in the back of Uber, because you know there's been so many issues like with people getting missing or sex trafficked,
Right.
a whole lot of stuff. I did think like, well, is that a little bit more safer? But at the same time, with how hackers be hacking into like the system, couldn't they just drive you like to like
That's
that
true.
unknown
You do open yourself
location?
up to hackers. I don't
Yeah.
know
See, I think
like
about all the most random things.
so like I never worried when I used to like ride Ubers 4 or 5 times a week and I never worried about being sex trafficked. I don't know. I mean, I am a pretty good looking man, but I never had to worry about that. But yeah, I mean, if it were an autonomous vehicle, it would be easier, obviously, for that vehicle to be hacked or the system in general to be hacked. Um,
Right.
and then they would have to obviously, target certain vehicles or whatever. But you would think there would have to be some sort of camera system in it to see you, so they would be able to target who they wanted. Um, yeah, which then if you can't keep your bank safe, how like you're not keeping an autonomous car company safe either. I mean, unless you somehow set up a closed circuit, you know, grid for those cars, yeah, we're getting hacked. Then Lady D's getting sex trafficked.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm telling you, it was when I was in Miami this past week. I saw way too many stories where I'm just like, all right, I'm already on kind of red alert. And the
Right.
last story that I remember watching on the news down there was a guy who was an Uber driver, took advantage of a woman, took her to this hotel, basically raped her, stole her credit card and was like on the run for like a week or two, and they still hadn't found him.
This is why I learned when you go to a big city or when you go to a new city, don't watch their news. Because you're going to find out all of the terrible things that have happened in the last week. And you're going to be like, oh man, I can't even go out. Because I moved from a town, which I'd been in bigger towns before. I had been in cities and been traveled before I went to college. But when I moved to college in Pittsburgh, we went on a visit, and the news the day of the visit was like a woman in downtown had been cut in half because her husband accidentally backed into the car behind him while she was unloading the luggage, and then had to so she was literally there being squished in half, and he had to say goodbye to her. The whole story is he literally had an hour or so to say goodbye to her while they pulled the cars apart, and she died. I'm like, this is crazy. And then the next story is some dude got stabbed and he was dead, and some other guy was shot, and it was like, what kind of town am I moving to here? Is this when the top 3 stories of the night are a smashing, a stabbing, and a shooting? All in one night we covered all of the bases. But yeah, no, it definitely try not to watch the news when you go in, because that's just, yeah. I mean, I watch the news once I live there and stuff, because you almost have to know what's going on around you. But, because a half a block away, some kid was stabbed with in the stomach for making fun of somebody else and stuff like that on a playground. And, some guy robbed a bank in downtown Pittsburgh and rode off and got away on a BMX bike.
See, I had to watch the news though, because that's I like to know what's going on. Especially if I'm about to go to an area that I've never been before, if there's something weird
Yeah.
going on. And I kid you not, case in point, the first night I was there, it was a little girl ended up losing her life that day. On last Tuesday, unfortunately. She was at the beach. She was digging a hole. The hole got way too big, and she ended up basically being sunk into it and was basically ended up suffocating. The sand ended up caving in on her. The hole was 6 feet. It was ridiculous. She never should have been able to dig a hole that deep. Where was the people at watching? Her parents were there. It was horrible.
The neglect involved in this
But
has now
literally, then we went, like I said, we went to Miami Beach, South Beach, whatever the heck it's called, South Beach, whatever, Miami Beach, one of Miami.
Miami Beach, yeah.
I guess the week before, or a couple of days before, a guy down there had done a shooting, and he ended up killing somebody. And the reason why he ended up shooting somebody was because somebody looked at him the wrong way. A 19-year-old kid.
Hey, it's important the way you look at people. If you're not looked at right, you shoot them.
Had I not known that, I'd have been like, okay, so
don't be disrespecting people out there.
Listen, you can lose your life over looking at somebody the wrong way. Apparently now,
you were going to look
if looks
the wrong
could kill,
way.
they say.
That day, looks did kill.
Yeah, looks did kill.
So, I got a couple odd news. We're gonna finish off. We're getting pretty deep into this. The U.S. cycle team, one of the U.S. cycle teams, were suspended and banned this week for dressing the mechanic as a rider and making them sign the sign-in card for the team. So the Synesca cycle team deceived racing officials into believing it had the required number of riders. So one of their riders decided to not show up at all. Just they didn't know where it was. It was a girl, because it's a women's riding team. So she decided not to show up at all, and you can't. I guess you can't join a race with too few riders. And so they needed a fifth rider. So they lied that they were in their tent, and then they took one of the mechanics with a mask, because as long as they show up and sign the paperwork, sign in for the race, they can pretty much die and not be at that race anymore. And
Mhm.
it's not a big deal. Like, they just ride a rider down. And so obviously with riding, it makes a difference if you're in the race and stuff and you're getting points for your season, more than if you win that race as a team or whatever. So you need to be in each race to gain the points you need to win the championship at the end. But yeah, so the president of the team kind of came up with this idea. The director, Danny Van Hout, instructed the team to deceive racing officials and lie about the whereabouts of the fifth rider.
Wow.
Yep.
Talk about playing dirty.
Like, at first I thought, well, what does it matter if you don't have another team member? If if this person like rode, what does it matter? Like, she got on the bike. Who cares if she's a mechanic? I'm sure she knows how to ride a bike. I mean, I would hope she knows how to ride a bike as the mechanic of a bike team.
She better.
But I guess it's more of the fact of the fraud of, we said this person was our fifth racer, and then that person wasn't even there, and this person posed as that person, signed their name and everything. So, because I was like, what's the big deal?
Unethical.
I guess.
Mm-mm-mm.
So the last two kind of go together. So, and honestly, this one hits home a little bit with me because I've been in this position a little bit. But bear with me when I say I've been in this position. Odd thrift store donation found to be a World War II era grenade. Prompts evacuation. It's a rarity. The second one is a Texas woman orders pop. Or no, that's the wrong one. There was that one, and then there was a contractor finds a World War II grenade hidden behind a wall while remodeling a bathroom in Seattle. So I've never found a grenade in a wall, but I have been in an antique show where people brought in antique military memorabilia and set a grenade on a table before. Actually, multiple times. The one time I knew it was a smoke grenade, and they said, all right, well, we're not allowed to take live munitions because this grenade still had the pin in and did not have a drill mark for whatever. And I told the person that owned it that it was a smoke grenade, and that I would either have to call the sheriff's department and have it taken care of, because it does have munitions in it, or they could put it in their car and deal with it later. For the fact of me not having to deal with it myself. But me and another buddy that ran shows have had other times where we actually had to had pineapple grenades come in, and things like that, where we had to literally call the sheriff's department, shut down the show, barricade a grenade as best you can in a banquet hall, and then set it up. So, but it's always funny to see the people's face when you're like, sir, you have just literally carried in your bouncing around car a live grenade, live ammunition that could blow your car to bits and probably kill you. And is probably from the, sometimes it was from like Korean War, it was from Vietnam. And so still, 40, 50-year-old ammunition that has been rusting and deteriorating for years, and you're like, yeah, you might want to like kiss your babies and just thank your lucky
Do you think it
stars.
would still work though after all these years?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them. I mean, the ammunition doesn't degrade like that. The only thing that degrades is the metal
Hmm.
around it. And so yes, your ammunition, like the black powder and stuff in it, can settle more. And so like a 22 shell or 22 cartridge can like settle to one side, so that if you hit it on the other side, it doesn't fire or something like that. Because it's rimfire. But grenade, it doesn't quite settle like that, but it could settle, and it could be a dud. But at the same time, anytime that you treat it like it's live ammunition. And then we were talking to one sheriff's department was like, yeah, we've got a spot. We put it out on a raft, and then we shoot at it in a pond where we're 35, 40 feet away from it, so that it can't kill us. And the shrapnel all goes in the pond, and we have target practice for the day. I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing. Can we come? But yeah. So it was funny because
Well,
the one sheriff's department, like, they didn't have like a bomb disposal group or anything. One group like actually came in with bomb suits on and took it out. One 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 sheriff's department actually put it in a cardboard box inside of another cardboard box inside of a third cardboard box, and we're like, that sounds real secure now.
yeah, because that's not going to blow up.
Yeah, like that's not gonna. Hopefully, the third cardboard box stops the shrapnel. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that one kind of hit home for me. That yeah, just I've been there, done that. Obviously, still here to tell the story. So no one's telling the story for me. But yeah. So, Lady D, what did you learn tonight?
Well, I got the best news ever. I don't really know if I learned something per se, but I would say the best news ever is that Mitch McConnell is finally leaving office.
The turtle is leaving
That
the
is
building.
great news. Yes.
Turtle.
May he spend the rest of his days being at peace with no worries.
Living in the shell on his back.
May he eat and
Oh,
rejoice with his family and enjoy all his time that he has left.
all of the money he's made himself.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
well
Yeah.
deserved.
Well, get on our website, whymangry.com. Like I said, deals going on to get you it's a lifetime membership for like $125. And let me get the code for you guys here. I should have been ready for it. It is not there. Right here. It is New Year Patriot. I wasn't even right on any of it. So yeah, New Year Patriot, 75% off our memberships, which, to get the ad-free podcasting, is like nothing. I mean, it's like $1.25 a month. And that's for life. You never get jacked up. We will never raise the prices on you. We're honest people, just honestly trying to keep this thing afloat and going. So get on, get your some ad-free content, and just help support us. So other than that, check us out on all of the social medias, anywhere that you socialize with media. And free support for us is to share and like. Give us a 5 or 1 star review. We're still waiting on those. to give out a free T-shirt to some lucky listener, and just get on there and like us or hate us, and we'll love you for it. So have a great night. Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcasts. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.